Hello everybody, this is Debbie from Teacher Success Coach. I hope that you guys are well. When I came on I think it was Wednesday or something last week, I can't even remember. I said that I started school last week. Yes, I did. And this is week 2. And my promise was to come on every day. However, today is Tuesday and I have not even honored my promise. Yesterday I came from work and I was totally exhausted because we finished at 5. On Mondays we finish at 5 because we have staff development. Anyway, regarding the school I'm in, it's a lovely school because it's important for me as a teacher to go to different schools. In the last 2 years or so, I've had some fantastic schools. Some of them have taught me a lot of lessons. Some of them, the lessons were painful. Some of them, the lessons were enjoyable. In my last school, it was a fantastic school. But what was interesting about my last school was, which I left in July, the students began to realize and connected with me, let's say 3 months after I've been in that school. So 3 months on, they realized that, oh, Miss isn't that bad after all, because initially it was an uphill struggle. It was a constant struggle with the students in terms of discipline, in terms of attitude to learning, you name it, I had it. And the thing about it is some of it was with the year 12. However, during the process, we began to connect, and towards the end of the session with me in that school, we connected fantastically. It was a really fantastic session because the student understood me and I understood them, and our connection became really strong. I know that they're missing me, that I'm no longer with them, etc. I understand that. However, there's sometimes as teachers, I do feel that we need to move on to other schools because we could be very complacent when we get to one school because we would be staying there and think that, we do not need to develop or grow. And as a teacher, I feel that we need to be constantly developing and growing so that we're able to bring bring new things to our students. And those are some of the reasons why I kept changing schools, because I think it's important that I see how other schools operate. And it's been a fantastic journey. It's been sometimes very challenging, sometimes very painful, but at the same time, very, very rewarding. And it's been fantastic because I've grown so much and I've learned so much. So that's one of the beauty of going from school to school, spending at least 1 year in a school, because it means that the students, you are not getting too attached to the students and they're not getting too attached to you. And that could be done only if you're in secondary school, because I'm in secondary school. So that's the reason why it is much easier to be done, because because one of the most challenging thing is doing that with primary school. Because I do believe in a primary school, you need to be there a little bit longer. But for me in a secondary school, I think it's important that for me, I don't stay there too long. The maximum time for me I want to stay in any secondary school is 2 years, because I do feel that I need to move on to see how other schools operate and see what I could bring to other school and see what I could, what other schools could give me, the benefit I can gain from other schools. So yes, my old school, I understand that, because I've seen some of the messages, etc. And I know that some of you are missing me. I understand that. I appreciate that. But one of the things we also need to remember is every teacher teaches very differently. And I want you to start embracing how teachers teach, and you take from it what works for you. Everything we as teachers, the way we all teach as teachers may not work for all students, because that's one of the issue I had with the school I was in last year and this year. Students do not understand my teaching initially because I'm a very outside of the box teacher. I do not chalk and talk, and I do not believe in writing on the board. I do not believe in, you actually giving students all the answers. as an empowerment speaker, I feel my role is also to empower my students. And students, they already have everything they need inside of them. My role as a teacher is try to inspire them to take out of them or allow them to see what they're capable of doing. Right? So that's what I feel that my duty as a teacher is. Not to feed you, but to empower you and for you to see your uniqueness and for you to see what you're capable of doing, because every student are capable of greatness, but we need to just remind them of how great they are and how they need to, to connect with their greatness. And that is my role as a teacher, right? So as I said, that there are times that students don't connect with me, and I could understand why they don't connect with me, because my teaching is not a normal teaching. I teach out of the box, and after a while students get it, and after a while they begin to understand it and they begin to connect with it. But initially, because my teaching is outside of the box, I'm always fighting. There's always I'm not too sure I could say a backlash, but there's always clashes, because the way students have been taught is very programmed and conditioned, and as a psychologist, I'm against that. So I'm teaching from a psychological perspective. Not only do I teach psychology, I eat, I live, I dream psychology. So I'll be teaching from that premise of a psychologist. Therefore, my teaching is outside the box. I'm not saying it's always right, because I've come up against a lot of issues with both education establishment and students. But because I believe in what I teach, and I believe in how I teach, and I believe the way I teach, it actually connect with the brain, etc., that I am willing to fight for my conviction, basically. So I don't have no problem schools sacking me, etc. But so far, no schools have sacked me. So far, oh yes, rephrase that. So far, I had a school that attempted to sack me, but they realized that they needed what I had to give them, so they took all that back. Right? And in the end, that particular school, I had supported them so much that they realized, oh my goodness, it wasn't me, it was it was SLT, right? Anyway, the interesting thing about it is students don't always initially connect with me, but that's okay. When I continue to teach them and I start showing them how the brain connects, after a while they start getting it. They'll say, Miss, I get it, right? And I feel as teachers, we need to empower and inspire and not to feed. Because when we feed students, it's no good for them. It's easier for us, right? And I do know the way I teach in terms of empowering, inspiring students, and teaching in terms of group work, exercise, collaboration. It's a lot of more work in terms of getting it done. But guess what? The students are a lot more happier, and they enjoy it, and they understand it, and they connect with it. Right? So sometimes teachers, we need to listen to what students are saying. We are not always right. Right? Because we have a lot to learn from students. As I constantly say to my students, they are my teacher as much as I am the teacher, because they're teaching me a hell of a lot. Oh my goodness. My students have taught me so much. And I have no qualms in putting my hand up and say I mess up or I don't know, because I've learned a lot. And teachers, I do feel that you guys need to listen to what the students are saying. They have a lot to offer us, Students have a lot to offer us as teachers, because don't forget, we are teaching them. They know what's best for them. They know what works for them. So we need to work in collaboration, not what we say go. We need to connect with them and see how best we are able to connect, because there's sometimes, I'm not saying that it's always right. There's sometimes we need to say, okay, this doesn't work too well. Let's try this. But we need to be flexible and willing to try other things when students say to us things isn't working. Anyway, what am I grateful for? Oh my goodness, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for my students, ex-students and current students. I'm grateful for the schools that I've been into. I'm really grateful for my students, right? Whether or not present, past, etc., because they've taught me a hell of a lot. Some of the learning, some of the lessons have been extremely painful, no doubts. But at the same time, it have made me a better person and a better teacher. It have made me who I have become and who I am becoming. So for those reasons, I have to be eternally grateful to my students and other people who've actually walked through my path, because I have learned a lot and I'm constantly learning. So those are the things I'm grateful for. And what are my wins? Oh my goodness. One of my big wins today is we were looking at the aspect of psychology we were looking at was the biological aspect, literal lesion, which link up to the brain, etc. And that's always a very challenging area to teach and for students to connect with. So when my year 13 actually connected with that, oh my goodness, it was an aha moment for me, because they actually connected. I'm not saying they connected straight away, because this is my second week of teaching them the topic, and they have actually get it. As a student say, Miss, I get it. And you're thinking, whoa, the light bulb moment. So for me, that's one of my win. Another of my win, I had year 11 this morning, and we were looking at language, communication, and thoughts. And that's another challenging area because of the way they have been taught in very linear fashion and in a very programmatic way. So therefore, I'm trying to undo all of that and getting them to think on their feet and think independently. And some of them got, because I had two groups this morning. The first session, they didn't even, it was going over the head, and I stood there thinking, oh my goodness, I need to try another method. So began to try another method, and they begin to get it. One group actually got it. The other group, I'm still trying to see how they're connected. The other group did, some of them got it, but a lot of them didn't get it. So my job now is, tomorrow when I see them again, try to repeat it in a different way so that it reinforces, and it would help for them, it would help to trigger the previous lesson. So that's what I'm trying to do, build on what was there before. So therefore have cues so that it's able to trigger. But overall, those were my win. When students are saying, Miss, I get it. Oh my goodness, I understand how the two halves of the brain connect. And I'm standing there smiling. Miss, why are you smiling? Because you guys got it. That's why I'm smiling. Don't worry, the rest of you who haven't got it, we're going to go back over it again next day. So those are my wins in terms of how, the fact that the aha moments that students have actually got what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's easy. There's sometimes I'm going through it over and over and over again, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as they get it in the end. And as a teacher, I feel that I need to listen to what works for them. And if the way I'm teaching doesn't work for them, I need to try another method, because after all, they're the one that is receiving the information. So we need to meet students where they are, because they're receiving it. So how can we enable them and empower them to receive it on a greater level, right? Anyway, that's basically what I come to talk to you guys about in terms of what the wins are, what I'm grateful for today. Another thing is, every day we have wins. We just need to reassess our definition of what winning is. Winning is not always having the trophy. Winning could also be that something you did not know yesterday, you know it today. That's a big win. Right? Another win could be something that you couldn't do today, you're doing it. You couldn't do yesterday, you're doing it today. So that's another win. So it's a matter of redefining your definition of winning. As I said, winning is not always having the trophy. Winning is doing something that you couldn't do before, and now you're able to do it. So that's a big win. And it's also an aha moment. Another thing that happened in the school today as well, which was, I found it very, very emotional. We had a year 10. This one was year 10 assembly. And one student actually spoke about her journey, that the topic was on stress. There were two topics, but one I'm focusing is on stress. And the factor was, she was talking about how stressful she have been and how stressful school was. And she was in year 9 last year. And the way the students, her peers, treated her. She was very stressed due to family things that's happening at home, etc., and school. And as a result of that, this student, in my view, she's a baby. She was a year 9. her hair began to drop out. Her hair was dropping out because of the stress she was going through. And then they realized that she also had a condition in terms of, her blood level, etc., etc. So due to stress, she was losing her hair. And as a result of that, she had to wear a wig because her hair there were bald patches, etc., etc. The sad thing about it is the peers in her class or in the playground, they were really, in my view, they didn't call it bullying, but in my view, I saw that as bullying. They were bullying that student, calling her names, calling her wig head, and all of that. And today, she actually spoke about how she felt, how the students were actually calling her names, wiggy, and all of those things because she was wearing a wig. And what she actually said to all of us, it was 300 students and tutors, teachers, etc. And what she said was, nobody knew what she was going through. The fact that she was going through those challenges because of school, and on top of that, her peers in her class or in the playground also was calling her wiggy. That student went through a lot. And when she was talking about it, she was a little bit emotional talking about it when she started. I must say, there was no teacher in that hall whose eyes were dry. It was just so emotional because it demonstrates how negative children can be. And I also connecting with parents as well, because we need to remind our children rather, that they need to be empathetic and they need to understand that not everything is a joke. Not everything needs to be laughed at, right? That student was very strong. We could have a reverse effect whereby the child commits suicide. Because I've been in school where students have committed suicide because of bullying, because of the name calling. These things are so, so traumatic. Parents out there, we need to start talking to our children. And remember, our children are our product. Whatever we say, our children connect with. So if we are name calling, we don't expect anything different from our children. If we are negative, we don't expect anything different from our children because our children are our product. Right? So we need to be very careful what we say to our children and how we say it. Because a lot of things stem from home. Yes, I understand social media, etc. But guess what? We are our children's first teachers. And we ought to be our children's first teachers. So when your children are very negative, you need to ask yourself, where are they getting it from? What negative are you feeding your children? How are you talking to your children? Are you saying to your children that they're not good enough? What are you saying to your children? Because believe me, when your child is beginning to feel that they're not good enough, that they actually take that into school, and then it starts manifesting itself into bullying. Because only then can they start shining, because in school, when they're able to bully another child or call another child name, they begin to feel elevated, because it means that they're beginning to feel as a somebody, because at home they're feeling a nobody. Parents, guardians, I keep on getting that word wrong sometimes, and carers, be very careful what you say to your child, how you say things to your children, because believe me, our children are the product of us. And what we tell our child and our children, it then comes into school, right? So that was one of the things that took place this morning when that child, she's now in year 10, was talking about what actually happened to her last year and how the children call her names. That was as a result of stress. She began to lose her hair. So her hair was dropping off. And in the end, they had to cut off her hair, shave up her hair, etc. And she had to wear a wig. Now she's not wearing a wig because the hair is growing back. And that child was so strong this morning. So strong. I met her in the canteen, and I really had to commend her on how brave she was. in actually bringing that forward and bringing that to the attention of the peer in her class. So parents and carers and guardians out there, we need to be very careful what we say to our children, how we empower our children. It is so very important. Lack of empowerment of our children, it means that it manifests itself into bullying. Anyway, guys, that was a win for me this morning. It was a very emotional one because that child really told the 300 of her year group, current year group now, how she felt when they actually bullied her. I call it bullying, right? When they actually picked on her when she was in year 9. And that was a result of stress. So her hair began to drop out. And as a result of that, they actually had to shave the rest of the hair out. So parents, I cannot stress enough. What are you telling your child? What information you're giving your children? How much are you empowering your children? Anyway, I'm going to do another session on empowerment of, we need to empower our children and how we do that. Anyway, guys, take care, stay blessed. Have a fantastic evening, night, morning where you are. And thanks for listening. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.